my car vlog, trying to be consistent and also content with my content bars. Nobody tells you today, remember that God loves you, Christ loves you, and I love you as well. I'm praying for you guys and gals, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday or enjoying it. Praying, as always. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Take It Home podcast, where I talk about professional wrestling topics. And I'll put up my matches as classic out for a professional wrestler of 13 years. So I know that sometimes the biggest thing when people get online and have a social media page or on YouTube, and it's like, oh, if you're going to complain about the content, why don't you get in the ring? And trust me, I've been in the ring for 13 years. So trust me, I'm not sitting here saying I'm perfect, but I know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to certain things. God bless you, Raphael. What's going on, man? I'm doing great. Just got off of work. How's everything with you? Make sure you subscribe to the Take It Home podcast and also subscribe to C3 Ultimate Wrestling. Lafayette in the building. What's happening? Robert Brown, Rich Syndicate up in the building. We block people. What's going on, brother? Make sure you subscribe to the C3 Ultimate Wrestling channel. That is me and my wife's professional wrestling company. We've been going strong since 2019. Our next show is next year, February 21st. Big Business, BIG Business. Get your tickets on sale now on Eventbrite. They're $5 off. It's going to be in Dyer, Indiana. That's right on State Line. At Harold's Private Venue. So shout out to them and everything. There'll be $5 more at the door. So you can get tickets online cheaper, but there'll be $5 more at the door bars. So that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I forgot the guy's name, the person's name. I remember they were named Riley, but I don't remember their YouTube channel name. So please forgive me when I go into this content today. And they asked me, they was like, what channels do I watch, like wrestling related? What do I watch wrestling related on YouTube? And we spoke about it a little bit, but I did want to go into a little more detail as I'm on the way home. Amy brought up Wrestling with Regret. Wrestling with Regret is one of those channels I do watch from time to time. Shout out to Brian Zane and everything he continues to do. I do like some of his retro reviews. I do like when he revisits some of the reviews he's done to like either fix something, correct something, or see if he still feels the same way. I do miss a lot of his like live PLE reviews and pay-per-view reviews. Like as soon as it's done, I know he's a family man. I know he's busy. He does wrestling stuff himself, but he is one of those guys that I do watch Wrestling with Regret. Let's kick it. Yeah, I am a big fan of his channel. I do feel like he is like one of a kind when it comes to this content. So he is one of the guys that I do watch. Oh snap, Full Gear is tonight. I'm not watching it though. Look, I'm gonna tell y'all like this. I don't watch PLEs live no more because I'm not spending $35 for an app that I probably ain't not gonna enjoy looking at, and a PLE I'm not gonna enjoy that will make no sense. So I don't watch live PLEs and pay-per-views anymore. I haven't watched a whole AEW match in a long time. The last full match I watched was Bobby Lashley versus Swerve Strickland. And that's only because AEW finally uploaded it on their YouTube channel. I actually got to go back and watch Swerve versus Bryan Danielson. I was in the middle of that, but I had to go do something. And I'm going to say this. Swerve should have beat Bryan Danielson. He should have retired him, in my opinion. Y'all talk about this Swerve, this black champion there, but he should have beat a surefire Hall of Famer. Honestly, should have, especially with afterwards. He only had it for a weekend and lost it to Moxley. I'm just saying. But still, early bird get the cheap for sure. Shout out to Shooting from the Script. Shout out to y'all. But going back into it, Wrestling with Regret is definitely a channel that I do watch, that I am subscribed to. Shooting from the Script, Critically Drinking, the collab that they do, and the collab that we're going to do in the future is going to be dope. I do love that Arshawn from Critically Drinking and Kev from Shooting from the Script, they can talk about wrestling, they can talk about PLEs and stuff, and they aren't always in the green. Now that sounds weird, but the thing is, sometimes people just say stuff just to make content and shield for people. Nah, Arshawn don't like something, he's gonna say it. Kev doesn't like something, he's definitely gonna say it. I'm going to be in the comments saying what I like and what I don't like. Shout out to Arshawn and his favorite wrestler, Candice LeRae, the Poison Pixie, and I know he's gonna come and get me after that. But still, still, I do think that they're authentic. Kev and Arshawn are very authentic, and also shooting from the script. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. He just interviewed the C3 Ultimate Wrestling Champion, Joseph Ira Credit. The BIG of the 313 say his name, the whole name, like a Tribe Called Quest. Say, I got me messing up. Now he gonna come and get me. But still, hey, who are you going for War Games? I don't know if I'm gonna watch War Games. I'm gonna watch the replay the next day on Daily Motion. Now that does sound like a crazy website, but back in the day when YouTube was YouTubing and stuff, Daily Motion had some stuff that you could watch, wrestling wise and otherwise. You can do a whole bunch of things with that. So that's where I usually watch it. I usually watch it the next day because, like I said, I'm not paying for an app. It's interesting. It does look interesting for the most part, but I'm just not going to. I think Cena's last match is on Peacock. I may resubscribe to that. As soon as I found out how they did, like, low-key they did Peacock subscribers kind of wrong. Because a lot of people was under the impression that they were going to end in December. They was like, nah, we're going to go straight to ESPN, WrestlePalooza. Well, WrestlePalooza, ESPN, goodbye Peacock. Y'all got NXT. I'm like, all right, I don't need Peacock. I don't watch NXT like that. I watch clips. So it is what it is. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Shout out to you from India. Yeah, Daily Motion is definitely an OG site. Like, if YouTube back in the day, it didn't have like copyright strikes and claims and stuff like that. And Daily Motion at the time, it was like that too. It didn't have any copyright strikes, anything. And low-key, you could put like almost anything on either one of those channels, but Daily Motion was definitely one of the ones that you probably would have thought had like was going to be up there with YouTube. But then when Google took over, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. YouTube was just the way of the monetizations and all of this other stuff. I don't know if you can monetize through Daily Motion. I do know that they have ads now, but usually when I watch sites, shows or whatever, it's been Daily Motion. It's been Daily Motion. So shout out to Daily Motion. That's how I watch mine too. Like, oh yeah, the old ones. Yeah, we got Super Wrestling Link. Yeah, I heard about that too. Some of my homies, they told me about other links, and they're free. Some of them you just subscribe, like $6, and even then, that's not a lot of money. But that's where I'm at when it comes to like PLEs. But going back into channels that I do watch, wrestlers with regret, critically drinking, shooting from the scripts. Like I said, these are guys too. I listen to Jim Cornette, and I know some people are probably getting off of the live as soon as I say that, but I do listen to him, and I'm not ashamed to say I listen to him. I wouldn't say I'm a cult of Cornette or whatever like that, but I do listen to a lot of his takes when it comes to wrestling, and for the most part, he is right. He is definitely correct. And the funny thing about it is, most of his views do come from him talking about AEW, whether it's bashing or he's just talking about it in general. But I'll say this, a lot of people can say, oh, all he's doing is this and that, he's irrelevant to AEW and all that. Tony Khan hit him up and was trying to have him a part of the AEW company. So I'm just saying, it says something in itself. It says something in itself. And Tony says stuff bad about WWE and certain people all the time. You have yet to hear him say something about Cornette for a reason. I'm just saying. Jim Cornette, yep. Shout out to you, Omar. Jim Cornette knows his stuff. I do know that a lot of people do not like his political takes, or some of them do. Some people don't like how he says bad things. If he does not like you, he will wish death upon you. He has said that he will pee on somebody's grave if they pass before he do. Like, he's not as crazy as he used to be, but in the back of his mind, you probably know that he is ready to empty the clip, right? I know like a lot of people don't like his takes about women wrestling. For the most part, I agree with some of his takes. Because women's wrestling is considered an attraction, right? So when you try to do the things that the men do, which it can be fine, but then now it's oversaturated. What's special anymore in wrestling? What's special anymore? So I get what he's saying. Like, you know, tag matches and stuff, attractions, women matches, like usually anything that's not a singles match is some kind of an attraction match, right? So I do understand where he's coming from with certain things. I don't agree with like some of the takes that he don't about certain wrestlers he don't like. It is what it is. But I do think for the most part, the man know what he's talking about. He's had his own company before. He's managed some Hall of Famers. He's a Hall of Famer himself. I know, like I said, I know a lot of people don't like his takes. A lot of people say, oh, well, you this and that, and he's racist and all of that. You know, and, you know, he doesn't shy from the fact that he used to say the N-word. You know, he said that times has changed and things like that. And you'd be surprised if you actually sit and listen to him, you'd actually probably agree with some of the takes that he say. It's just as soon as somebody says Cornette, people are like, oh no, he just hate wrestling. No, he just hates what it's become, right? And I'm sitting here sticking up for him because you actually listen to it. I remember they was trying to cancel him when his animator for his thumbnails, Travis, he made a picture and the match he was talking about Swerve versus Kyle Fletcher, and it was a picture of a gorilla next to a Q-tip. Now, as wild as that, it was Jim as the gorilla, but some people who didn't like Jim were trying to say, "Oh, look at what he did. He's calling Swerve a gorilla," and that is not the case. That was definitely not the case. He was referring to gorilla position, and that's just what it is. I'll say that by saying, man, if you are a Japanese wrestler, that man does not like you. The way he mispronounces people's names, the way he talks about Rio, yes, the man can be very controversial. He can be very controversial with a lot of his takes, especially if he doesn't like you or he does not believe what you bring. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, man, they used to get the worst of his lashings and stuff like that. I remember when Rusev said something about him, when Rusev was cool with Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian, and Jim Cornette monetized it by speaking about them for a whole hour. And I watched all of the hour because, man, I ain't a lot, man. You ain't hear nothing from him no more, but still. What up from Kenya? From Kenya, shout out to you. I'll be your friend for sure. Yeah, Jim Cornette, he be on some stuff. He be knowing his stuff. At least you know where Cornette stands, no misunderstand. Yeah, he goes straight to the point. It looks like I said, I don't always agree, but I agree like a lot of it when it comes to like the standpoint of certain things. Especially when the wrong things go viral, I definitely understand. Never thought of women's match as an attraction match. Yeah, when you think about it, it is. You know, used to be one women's match if you had one. Because people was like, oh my gosh, the women are doing it. But now it has changed. And to be honest, I'm not even really mad at the change. I just don't like some of the things that came with it. You get what I'm saying? Women now, especially on the independent, they can be world champions now. And it's like, to me, if you are a company, you have a belt that's a women's champion, and then you have a woman who beats the man who is the world champion and stuff like that, why should we even care about the women's champion at this point? You know, I understand things is different and all that. I can understand women challenging for the belt and all that, but still. And some people be like, oh, well, you old school, you just got to get with the times. I'm like, do I really have to? I don't have to. It's my choice. I don't have to. Respectfully, I don't have to. Love you, but I don't have to. I think we got to realize that people got to try to be careful trying to generalize people, not even just in wrestling, but even in any standpoint of even being a black man. Oh, well, you black, so you need to do this, or you're a man, you need to. I don't need to do nothing. To do nothing, and I want people to remember that. That's my choice. If I want to do that, and like I said, I wish the best for everybody, but I ain't to do nothing. Get with the times. You get out the times. Still, yeah, a guy who talks based on experience ain't the same. Yeah, like honestly, I do think that most people, if you would get out of the disdain of him, you would probably learn some stuff from him. Can he be racial and discriminatory? Of course he can. I mean, like I said, and I'm not validating what he says, but I'd rather the person be who they are than try to lie. And that'd be the problem. And I've talked about this before, and I don't want this to be that kind of post or video, but it's just like, most of y'all, not most of y'all, when I say y'all know what I mean. Most people be like, okay, well, this person said something so bad, so we want them to apologize. Why do you want them to apologize if that's how they feel? What will apologizing do? all it's going to do is like putting a band-aid over a big laceration. It's not going to do nothing. And if he feels that way, he feels that way. You don't have to, you don't like his content, you don't have to. And like I said, and I've spoke about it before with the Ethiopian joke he said when he was on NWA Power. He said this person is so bad and so strong, he can have a bucket of chicken strapped to his back and walk through Ethiopia. I'm paraphrasing. Homie was fouled for that. He lost his job. He lost his job in NWA. And even then, when he talked about it, he didn't even see it as a big deal. That's how he is. You know what I'm saying? You can only cancel somebody if they want to be canceled. You know? And there's people, it doesn't matter what race they are, religion, whatever. Some people still listen to him and they still like a lot of the stuff that he says. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. A white boy from Louisville, Kentucky, in the N-word tracks. Yes, it does. I'm from Texas. Almost anything close to the South or anything, any country or something, that word is probably used a lot. Honestly, it's used a lot probably everywhere. It's just some people just know how to cut it on and cut it off very fast. I don't understand. I'm sorry, this is how I talk. This is exactly how I talk. I'm sorry. NWA Pro is weird. NWA used to be good. This is how I talk. I'm sorry. Bro, relax. Yeah, that's how I am. But NWA Power, what's the Power? Yeah, when they used to Into the Fire, that song, that used to be good. They used to have episodic shows on YouTube, and I remember I was sharing it. This was when Nick Aldis, the GM of SmackDown, he was the champ. 10 pounds of gold, Sweet Charlotte, and Camille was like his manager, and Tom Latimer and somebody else was like in the group. It was good. They actually had good stuff. NWA was when I first saw Ricky Starks, absolute Ricky Starks, Stroke Daddy, like all of the stuff that y'all seeing now. That was when I first seen him. Now people have seen him before that because he's been on the independent scene, but still, NWA Power used to be good, and then something happened where they took all their stuff off YouTube, and when this is also a good channel that I used to watch. I don't watch it no more, but still, when NWA Power was on and stuff, they used to do great things and stuff. Thunder Rosa was on there and stuff. Eddie Kingston, a lot of the guys and stuff that's either in TNA, AEW, or WWE. But then when they came back, it just wasn't that good. It was just like one of the highlights they had was when what's his name? The Sinister Minister, James Mitchell. He was doing some kind of promo and somebody was taking the bump like in the back. And I ain't talking about a wrestling bump. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So it was just like, that was like one of the highlights and stuff outside of like other things that's like very, very controversial. But I used to watch that a lot because they actually had great wrestling and great story. And I love the old school aspect of it being TV tapings and stuff. But it's just like, to me, they lost their flair. I'll be here all week. NWA Power was really good with it. Yeah, it was good. I promoted it. I was like, man, this is some good TV. Like, man, Ricky Starks, was it Ziggy Dice? It was somebody Dice. Like, it was some people. Trevor Murdoch, he had a different name. He was there. It was some good stuff. It was some good wrestling there. It was really some really dope wrestling there. The storylines were dope and everything like that. I thought Aldis doing what he did was pretty cool. I know a lot of people got mad when Tyrus, aka Brodus Clay, was on there because of his political thoughts and opinions and stuff. And for some reason, they gave him the belt and thought that he was gonna do something because he was on Fox. It just didn't work. And it was just, after that, it just felt like they just gave people belts and thought that they was gonna elevate. EC3 had the belt for a while. This EC3 just, a lot of people just stopped caring. And it used to be so good. It used to be so good. I hear things from rumblings of it, but I don't watch some of this. I don't watch it. So, but that was one of the ones that was also good. Jim Cornette, Shoes of a Champ. Yeah, Nick was dope. I was a big fan of Nick when he was Magnus in TNA. He was very, very young at the time. Brutus Magnus, they had him as a gladiator. Then they turned him into just Magnus. And then I thought he did good. I thought they did very, very good with him. The V for victory. I remember all of this stuff. I was a big fan of Magnus. I hated when him and AJ went against each other to unify the belts, because he should have did it by himself, because he was a bigger guy. But they had like Bobby Roode and everybody helped him, because Dixie Carter, if y'all remember that, she was running TNA crazy. So still. Do you remember WCW in Texas? I remember some of the stuff. I've never went to a WCW show, but I do remember that. I remember seeing like old flyers and stuff. I do wish I would have went to a WCW show. I was young and stuff. I didn't know how to go to get tickets and stuff like that. I have went to WWE shows though. I remember Nick. Yeah, Nick was dope. Nick was very, very dope. If we want to talk about wrestling channels that I watch, like companies, Black Wrestlers Matter. Shout out to John West. He had a movement, and it was a big movement that was going on for the past few years and stuff like that. And it had a big following, had a lot of sponsors and stuff. I sponsored one of the shows and stuff like that. It was dope. I loved his commercial. When they went to Chicago, I want to say 2 years now. Yeah, it's been like 2 years. It was a dope show. I know they did come back to Illinois. I want to say this year. Yeah, the beginning of this year and stuff like that. It was a big thing. A lot of people shared it. A lot of people wanted to be a part of it. And a lot of people wanted to be a part of the movement. I remember when I booked John for one of the shows, a lot of the people wanted to be on the show. He's like, man, he's just like, he's super booked, because so many people wanted to be a part of a big movement. And the matches was very, very solid. You know, one of my favorite matches from them was JDX versus frontman Jossie. So if y'all want to see that match, that's on their channel. The promo at the beginning, a lot of that stuff was pretty good. And then even from that, Ashe, I hope I'm saying it right. Ashe Wrestling, they've been out for about a year, a little over a year, whatever like that. Shout out to Darius Lockhart. They do a lot of things. They mixing hip hop and wrestling. It's a lot of companies that mix it and stuff like that, but they do a great job with a lot of the stuff. They get big crowds in that. A lot of people try to go there. A lot of people try to make their name on it. That's how I heard about the Allfather. I forgot his last name. I know it's Darius, just like what's his name is. But they got a lot of big things that's going on and stuff like that. So I do watch them from time to time. Y'all be nice in the chat, please. Be nice in the chat. But still, I know they do a lot of stuff in like the Carolinas and stuff, and I know they do things in other spots wherever they can go to. They get big names to come in. I know Cedric Alexander was there and stuff. I know Ron Simmons was there. Teddy Long was there. They bring in a lot of people and stuff like that. People I've seen before, people I went to shows and enjoy some of their stuff. But it's pretty good. SmackDown Waste them. SmackDown Waste too. Who did SmackDown Waste? Yeah, I could reach. I think it was so difficult for me. I don't understand. Like, it's okay. But who was the waste on SmackDown? But going back into it, Ashe is pretty good. There's a YouTuber. He does video work for a lot of companies. Pro Wrestling Shoots. He uploads a lot of him and his team. Let me say that. Him and his team upload a lot of the matches and stuff like that. So Fab Wrestling is on there. Wrestle League. Square Circle Megastars. Like, there's a lot of channels, there's a lot of companies on that one channel, and they like play the shows for me the entirety. And a lot of my people, my homies and stuff that I wrestle and I train with, they're all part of these shows. So I'd be more than glad to always like give them a like and a view or whatever like that to see how my homies doing. And sometimes I'll message them, hey man, you did great. It was a good match and stuff like that. The Cobra, shout out to him. He has his own channel, the Cobra Vids. He puts his matches and he puts his promos up, and they'll be very good. They'll be very, very good. So shout out to the Cobra. So yeah, it's a lot of channels and stuff that I'm like locked into and I look at. Obviously, like WWE, AEW and stuff. I'll like look at the clips and stuff. I am kind of mad at AEW because AEW used to put like the last half of their matches, like 15-minute matches. Now they're smart and they only doing like 1 or 2 minutes, because you want people to go back and watch it. But still, who's my favorite black wrestler? That's a good question. Booker T. Booker T is not only my favorite black wrestler, he's like one of my favorite wrestlers. He's in my top five. 5 times. He's up there. Biased, obviously, because it's Texas. That's one. I also think that Texas has the best wrestlers. The best wrestlers come from Texas. Honestly. I know some people gonna feel a certain way. Shelton Benjamin is good. Shout out to Shelton Benjamin. I saw that super kick he gave to Mike Bailey. Oh my gosh, I've never seen somebody flip off a super kick like that. Shelton Benjamin is definitely one of those guys people call underrated and felt like he should have been a world champion and stuff like that. I wouldn't say that AEW is going to be the one that give him his crown, honestly, because of how AEW does things. But still, Booker T is is my favorite black wrestler. I wish to see him one day at a wrestling con or something like that and take a picture with him, because he was one of the him and his brother Stevie Ray of Harlem Heat. They were the first wrestlers I've seen on television, and I grew up watching them. Can you dig it, sucker? I remember he used to raise the roof. Y'all remember the high top fade? Y'all remember he had the Nelly nose thing right here? You know, Nelly got it under here. He had his on his nose and stuff. I remember that stuff. The Spinneroonie and all that. I remember the hot top fade and all that. I remember all that. Like, can you dig it? Coming out with Sister Sherry. She wasn't sensational Sherry. She was Sister Sherry. I remember that. They broke the record for WCW championships. Was it 11 or 12? It was a lot of times. So, yeah, Sheldon was pretty cool. Booker T was great. His WCW championship runs were pretty good. I hate that it was like near the end of WCW, so I felt like he didn't get a big moment like he should have. He was the final WCW champion, which was cool, and it's funny because I remember he was starting his dreads, and he was starting his dreads, and it looked like popcorn shrimp in his head. Anyway, love you, Booker, but still, it was just at the time WCW, they was already losing stuff. They was losing money, losing millions. They was doing a whole bunch of stuff, and it was like, man, they tried to do some stuff with him. You know, he was wrestling Bret Hart. He was Goldberg, Sting. Like, they had him up there and stuff. Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley is definitely up there. Ron Simmons. I took a picture with Ron Simmons. I had to take a picture with Ron Simmons. Ron Simmons was definitely dope. Ron Simmons, like, when I went to the Square Circle Expo this year, Ron Simmons was there. And D'Angelo Steele, who was the C3 champion at the time, he was there with me. And then I took a picture with Ron. And Ron was just a nice guy. He was so dope and stuff like that. The first black world champion, I had to take a picture with him. I had to take a picture with him and stuff like that. It was good to see him. He had good advice for D'Angelo Steele. Like, you know, it's not a lot of us that's champions and stuff, and, you know, just work hard and try to keep it and things like that. So, still, yeah. Ahmed Johnson, Special Delivery Jones, Baba, Bobo Brazil. It's a lot. R-Truth, somebody said R-Truth. I loved R-Truth as Ron Killings in TNA when he won the NWA championship, because how they was doing it. Hey, people being held back and stuff like that. And then with Ricky Steamboat's involvement about it, where Ron was like, hey, you know, the man held you back. And then Ricky Steamboat was like, all right, man, you got a match. And then he wanted to beat Ken Shamrock. He wanted to be a 2-time NWA champion. So still, I remember Jericho being the last, went to WWE when he became the first undisputed. Kamala. Yeah, Jericho, we'll talk about Jericho, because Jericho making some moves. Kamala, he's very underrated, and I do wish he should have been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame by himself. They got some kind of wing now that he's in, but he should be inducted into himself. He should be inducted by himself. The man faced Hogan. He faced Warrior and stuff, and he was believable every time. Some people believe that he would actually win because he was the Ugandan giant and stuff. And the fact that you hear stories about him not being paid as much because of the color of his skin is crazy. And then I know a lot of people hate Ultimate Warrior, and they hated him all the way up to his death. But he was one of the ones to make sure that Kamala was paid right, or he had a good hotel to stay in. So shout out to Ultimate Warrior when it comes to that. Junkyard Dog, Coco Beware. Come on, all day. Junkyard Dog. Man, that Vice story was so sad, man. Man, Dark Side of the Ring be sad. Sometimes it be good and sometimes it just be sad. And his is just real sad, man. He just, oh man, it's just sad. Yeah, Kamala should definitely be mentioned more. Yeah, he faced Andre. He body slammed Andre. And it was very, very impressive. It was very, very impressive. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot of black talented wrestlers and stuff like that. And speaking of black talented wrestlers, tune in next Wednesday, 6 o'clock. Me and Kev from Shooting from the Script, we will talk about the BWI, the Black Wrestlers List. You know, that they got the PWI and they got the BWI, which is a list of 500 of the top wrestlers. Now, you guys know me. I don't really care about these lists at all, but we will definitely speak about it, and I will be very transparent on why I don't really care for lists, why I don't like lists, and then why I feel like I don't think people are doing the right qualification for these kind of lists. Lil J, Coco Beware. Yeah, it just it was a lot. It was a lot of guys. Ahmed Johnson. Before a lot of stuff started happening with him, a lot of people was expecting him to be the first world champion. Some of the wrestlers back in the day said, "Yep, he was supposed to be him," but then it wasn't. Unfortunate. But still, going back to the channels. Yeah, it's a few channels that I do watch, like wrestling wise and stuff. Sometimes like I'll like look at other people's stuff, like Millennial Smarks. He's very, very funny. There's another guy called is it Waltz Clyde? He's like a loose cannon, and his takes be very, very funny to me. And I know he does like karate and stuff, so shout out to him and things like that. But some of his takes are very good, and some of the stuff is like, you know, he talks about certain things, and he's very, very aggressive. And low key, that's what I like about his delivery. It's just like it's so much conviction in it, you know. But shout out to him, Jazz and Swole. Jazz was pretty good. I met Jazz a couple times when I used to wrestle for LOW in Chicago. They would be mainstays to be booked. Her and her husband Rodney Mack. Jazz is one of the sweetest people, and I remember speaking with her when we went to IHOP, and her and her husband was breaking bread with me about the business. And I remember I told her, I remember they got interviewed. It was either Ebony or Jet magazine, and I remember reading the article because I didn't know that they was even married in real life. And she broke somebody's nose that was talking bad about her husband. She was nice. She was very nice. They got some stuff, the Dog Pound Wrestling. They got Dog Pound. They got their own company in Texas. And I know they are affiliated with NWA, so shout out to them. Jimmy Superfly. Jimmy, a lot of people don't like talking about Jimmy because of that Dark Side of the Ring episode about what he did with his girlfriend. Because it was even to the point to where when he got prosecuted, he was so old and stuff, like they would just let him free because he was old and stuff and he was already suffering. And I know a lot of people don't really bring him up. I mean, WWE don't even bring him up like that because of that situation. Because they definitely protected him by all means. But still. One second. Ren send a kid in the building. Yeah, we don't play. I don't play. Yeah, everybody cares. Yeah, the Jimmy Snuka thing was very, very, it was irritating. But like I said, and Kev can attest to this. When you look at like old channels like You Shoot, shout out to them too. I used to watch them a lot. You Shoot, and he would interview wrestlers, and other companies would interview like wrestlers, and they'd be having shoot interviews, right? You could even buy DVDs. I remember you can buy the DVDs of people shooting on Vince McMahon and WWE and WCW. Like they used to sell DVDs about people talking bad about Vince. And you could tell, like, you could really believe, you know, for the most part, I believe what a lot of them people did. Now, when it comes out, is groundbreaking. Like the stuff about Vince and the allegations about them messing with people and stuff. People been saying it for years, right? So, like, when it came out, I can't say that I was shocked because there's always been speculation. It's just what difference is now, it was a lot of receipts. Yeah, the thing about his girlfriend on the side of the road, and things like that. Yeah, it was definitely a nasty situation for sure. Hacksaw Butch Reed, yep. A lot of people and stuff. You know, a lot of people, New Jack. I mean, New Jack is considered a hardcore legend in his own right. Too Cold Scorpio, like, you know what I'm saying, a whole bunch. It's been around at least since the Ring. Yep, the Ring Boy issue. Yep, that's what it was. That's what it was. And there's other stuff, allegations against Pat Patterson. I know he passed, but stuff with him and other wrestlers that was trying to get into the business. It's been around. It's been around for a long time. It's just that sometimes people turn deaf ears to things that they like. That's with anything. When I spoke about The Undertaker and his homie Matt, as big of an Undertaker fan I am, I thought it was bogus about how this stuff happened with the podcast. And some people like, oh, no, you don't get it. I do get it. Undertaker is the star. People want to hear Undertaker. And Undertaker probably don't want to speak about this stuff unless he's near his wife. I get it, but it doesn't mean that he didn't do wrong. I heard Vince did some stuff, but I find it funny that now there's something about it when it happened a couple years ago. Now it's just, I don't know, man. Like that Me Too movement, like it should have just been for people that actually went through some stuff. Some people didn't even go through stuff, but they acted like they did because they wanted so much money. I just hate when they bring something like that 20 plus years ago. Sometimes you do got to bring back old stuff, though. Because sometimes people be like, oh, well, I don't like Vince. And be like, well, why don't you like Vince? And then you can say, well, what this man did 20 years ago. Because it's very important. Because just because some people move on, it doesn't mean other people have. And some people may have moved on and still just don't like him. And you know what? This person is toxic. So I don't want to be around him. I don't have nothing to do. I don't want nothing to do with him. That kind of stuff also happens. You know what I'm saying? So even with that. But on a light note, Botchamania. Botchamania has been around for years. They've had so many YouTube channels because copyright strikes, because YouTube, like, to me, that's like one of the first channels I can remember being copyright stricken and being deleted and stuff. Matthew, Maffew. Like, the man had a big following that if you do bots, they used to have people chant Botchamania because he made videos of people messing up. Now, as a wrestler, because I was watching him before I was a wrestler, I do understand why people would get upset with that. Because people like me, we don't like messing up. We don't like messing up in wrestling and stuff like that. But to have a whole channel that's dedicated to like you messing up and all that, and then it's independent, and it's WWE, it's AEW, it's WCW. You know, we remember the Super Dragon and the Jesus. And then it's trash. Like, we remember this stuff because it's funny and stuff like that. So I know he still does Botchamania from time to time. But that definitely is a channel that I could never forget I had to say on this. I just hate when they bring something that 2001 is made. Yeah, I remember that. And she did it. She barked like a dog and stuff. And I remember they like poured slop on her. It was horrible back then. It was horrible back then and stuff. But this is what people be talking about. Bring back the Attitude Era. I'm like, hey, that's what came with the Attitude Era. That kind of stuff. I think Wrestle Me, them English guys. Are you talking about like What Culture? I know about like What Culture. I used to like What Culture. Like, I don't know. I just stopped watching them. You know, with Simon Miller and stuff like that. Yeah, What Culture used to be good. I'm sure they're still the same, especially like with Simon. Because why? That's why. I do know that they had like the controversy with Adam, who was like one of the top guys there, and then it was some stuff with like allegations against him and being inappropriate with certain people. I know they like distanced themselves from it. I remember they had like a wrestling company, What Culture Wrestling, for a little bit, What Culture Pro Wrestling for a little bit and all of that. And then it's changed to Defiant. I remember like small stuff like that. I used to like Simon's reviews of Raw and SmackDown, what gets it up and what gets it down and stuff like that. I used to like that kind of stuff. So yeah, so like I said, shout out to them. They were pretty good. Yeah, it was during the Attitude Era, going invasion era. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. What's up, my man? You're the only one who looks. Huh. I I look homeless. I'm in front of my home, but that's okay. I got a gift for you. Thank you for telling me that. Appreciate you. Anyway, Rent Syndicate. Rich is in front of the home. Anyway, yeah, Simon was definitely cool. Simon was cool. I know there were other guys and stuff like that. I do know that like people make documentaries about them, saying that like they didn't know the severity of like running a wrestling company and paying people and paying wrestlers and stuff like that. But still, what's his name? Promo Joey. He's like a relatively new channel. I know he's had like 2 channels. He does like parodies of wrestlers and stuff. He makes fun of them through videos and stuff and edits. I think he's pretty good. You gotta let him know, Joe. Let him know, Joe. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. I look forward to like his videos and stuff. One more. Marky D123. I don't know if you guys know him. I think I'm saying his name right. The Ring of the Hawk challenge, Hulk Hogan. Like, if you know a wrestler that can do the J-O-B, leave the names in the comments, Jack. I think he's from England or something like that. Excuse me. He does very good. He does a lot of reviews of wrestlers. Like, he reviews like wrestlers' time in like ECW, WCW, WWE, and stuff like that. The Ring of the Hawk challenge. He's very cool. He's very cool. I do love his takes on certain things about storylines. I'd be like, oh, I remember that storyline. That storyline was horrible. What's going on, Max? Like, that storyline was horrible. And he would like speak about it. He reviews old shows. He was a believer in TNA. And then he's like, man, they just messed it up. And he's like, if you don't believe that, then you need to get hit with a brick. I don't know why that's so funny to me, but he does say those kind of things. And it is very, very funny. So shout out to Marky D123. He reviews stuff, and like I said, he does very, very good. But those are a lot of channels. I didn't feel like I watched a lot of channels, but yeah, that's definitely a lot of channels. But I've been home for about 10 minutes. I'm definitely parched. I'm about to go ahead and enjoy me some Capri Sun. Attitude Era happened around March 27th. I think it lasted after Mania. Yeah, it was like early thousands, started like late 90s and stuff, but throughout the 90s, they had inklings of the Attitude Era and stuff like that. And the biggest thing about the Attitude Era was that it was attitude. I know a lot of people say that was like the best time for wrestling. I don't think it was. I think it was the best time for attitudes and stuff like that. WCW had better wrestling on their television show. WWE had more attitude. They had more characters and stuff like that. WCW had NWO. WWE had DX, and then they had a whole bunch of stuff. They had different like attitudes and stuff like that. And WCW, they had some good stuff with attitudes as well, but at the same time, I just think that that's just what it was. With Attitude Era, it was less about wrestling, more about attitude. Stone Cold is considered one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, but his moveset is not one of the greatest movesets of all time. Stomping, mudhole stomping, punches, elbow drops, Stone Cold stunners, and middle fingers. That was basically the main thing that he did. He wasn't doing no dive on spots. He wasn't doing no hurricanranas and stuff like that. He wasn't doing a whole bunch of technical stuff. Thing is, before he became Stone Cold Steve Austin, he actually was doing that kind of stuff. So he can do it, but less is more because of the character. The larger-than-life and relatable character is what elevated Stone Cold to the Mount Rushmore of a lot of people's wrestling list. Because of that. So, like I said, I'm out. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. We were talking about wrestling. We'll probably talk about something tomorrow when I'm either on the way to work or I'm leaving work. But I hope you guys and gals have a wonderful day. Thank you for rocking with me. This is Chris Classic. Let's take it home. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. We're gonna speak more about a few more things. I'm probably sit down for a little bit and figure out what topic I'm gonna do. Oh, you're a wrestler? Where you wrestle at? Where you wrestle? I wrestle in the Midwest. I wrestle mostly in Indiana and Illinois. Now, yeah, hold on. Where you wrestle at? 1984, 97 wrestling. There you go. Yeah, wrestling has like a lot of eras, which is crazy because I feel like after, you're not in America. Okay, that's cool. Still, as long as you wrestling, be safe out there. Yeah, it's funny because it was like the ruthless aggression era was like the last era that ruthless aggression era was like the last era that was acknowledged by WWE. You get what I'm saying? Um, After the ruthless aggression era, now people talking about like the PG era, but WWE has never really called it the PG era. The fans have called it like the PG era. They like never said, "Oh, welcome to the PG era." We just knew that they like as soon as we knew that they were switching to PG, people just called it the PG era. You know, it was John Cena was like hot and stuff after the ruthless aggression. But yeah, WWE has not called anything of an era since. Honestly, they haven't. Most people have. When CM Punk was champion and stuff with the best in the world stuff, people were trying to call it like the reality era and stuff like that. But WWE has never called it the reality era. Fans called it the reality era. It's just like, cinema with the bloodline. Oh, cinema era and stuff. It's cinema. It's good cinema and all that. You know, I don't know. Just random things to think about. But yeah, I'm out one more time. I feel like I'm a preacher in church that's trying to close the last 10 minutes. But once again, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Chris Classic. Let's take you home.